Forget gurus. Forget anyone claiming to be an online business expert without going through the challenges of entrepreneurship themselves. The Real Money, Real Business podcast is here to prove the best insights in online business comes from your fellow online business builders. We dig into stories of entrepreneurs selling their business on the Empire Flippers marketplace so that you can learn how they made their business profitable, how they overcame obstacles, and what lessons they learned in their online journey. If you want to take your business and your knowledge to the next level, you've come to the right podcast. Let's get started.
Hey everyone, Max here with another great business to discuss on this episode of the Real Money, Real Business podcast. Today's guest is John, and he's selling his e-commerce business on the Empire Flippers marketplace. So welcome to the show, John, and how are you doing today?
Fine, Max, and yourself?
Yeah, I'm really good, thank you. I'm looking forward to hearing more about your business. So before we start, I'll give a brief summary of the business. It's an e-commerce business in the entertainment niche, created in April 2000. The average monthly revenue for the business is $32,414 and makes an average of $23,096 per month in net profit. For everyone listening, you can visit empireflippers.com/marketplace and search for listing 47834 to learn more about the business. Included in the sale is the primary domain, secondary domain, 6 additional domains, an email list with over 50,000 active subscribers, a library of files, trademark, social media accounts including Twitter, Facebook and YouTube, SOPs, supplier contracts and relationships, and contractor agreements. So now that I've given a general overview of the business, John, can you tell us a little bit about your background in building or running online businesses?
A business deals with files, and customers go online, they select the files, download the files, and they're able to use them pretty much right away. So it's load and play. We have a library of files for this relevant business, and these files are built upon every week. So we create new files every week to keep the content current, and the content is tailored specifically for our customer base.
And how did you come up with the idea to start this particular business?
Well, the field that I was in at the time, I was in a particular area of the field, and that particular area, the particular personnel that I was working with at the time had to have a break. So I had to go on my own, and it was during that time that I discovered these particular files had a specific market area or a specific market that would buy these files. And then I just kind of started to develop not only the files, but the technology and the e-commerce, which back then was just standard mail outs, with stamp on them. And eventually the digital platform came about. We developed a brand new platform to market the files out to those customers. And we gradually and organically, I guess, built up a very large customer base from the advent of the internet. We were one of the first Australian businesses on the internet. And in fact, we were one of the first e-commerce businesses set up in Australia.
And why did you choose this niche? Was it sort of a business move, or was it something that you had been interested in?
Well, it was firstly, my major interest. It's what I'm trained to do and one of my passions, I guess. And we built the business up from a small office and some basic gear. And we then learned a little bit about the internet. When the internet first came out, we set up a very basic HTML page. It was very, very primitive, with a black background and the red and yellow text. It's quite interesting to look back at it now. And eventually when things like PayPal and online payment systems came about, and databases, of course, it's very important, we were able to integrate all those particular online necessities, which is basically a shop but in digital format. And we created one of the very first digital stores online, certainly in Australia.
And you sort of briefly mentioned there that it's kind of a custom built site. Can you tell us a little bit about how it's built? Okay,
well, we need to understand that back in the day, there wasn't the kind of setups that there was now. There was no PayPal, for instance. There was no eBay even. There was no Google. So let's go back to those first days. So to create an online transaction, it took a little bit of time. You would make the sale online, and then that payment would go to a third-party processor, and then about 2 days later, that would give you the okay, and then we would release the files to the customer. Fortunately, when things improved and more modern systems came about, we organically grew, and we created our online database pretty much out of nothing, like a standard spreadsheet. From there, grew into this enormous system to cater for our large library of files, our customer base, of course, and our sales. So that's got us through this particular time. And if I can just probably mention that perhaps say to a buyer that would be coming across, this would be something that they may want to either continue to use, or they may integrate what we have, into a more modern system they design themselves.
And how does this primarily make money?
Primarily makes money. When we make our files, we turn them as a master file. And the advantage and the beauty of these particular master files is they can be replicated infinite times. So once the file is created, we then produce what we call first generation copies. So the copies are as good as the master each time. So we create the file is in the library, the customer buys that file, then another customer can buy the same file, another customer can buy the same file, but we only pay to produce it once, which explains our high profit rate. So that's the story behind the files. And the other advantage to the particular files that we have is we can create other media from those master files. So you can imagine our files as being, the eggs and flour of a cake, but we can make many different cakes out of these particular eggs and flour, so to speak.
And where does the majority of your traffic come from? How are people finding your website?
Okay, the majority is organic. So these are web searches from the type of client that would buy these files. So they would search for some relevant information that would identify the files, and then they would click on particular links, and the links can either be to the home page or to the specific file itself. And I guess once the customer is in our online store, then they would browse around and they may choose one file, and from there they may choose 10, 20, 30, 40, up to 100 files, depending on their needs on that particular day.
What do you currently do in terms of marketing?
Our marketing is fairly basic at this particular stage, but it's very effective. We use email, so we have an email database, which we use at least once a week, and usually once a week, and we would tailor those emails to particular regions. So, for instance, even though we may have a large library, there may be customers in the UK or the United States, America, Canada, Asia, whoever they may be, they would be searching for or wanting slightly different parts of that particular library, the library of files. So it's very easy for us to do one email, for instance, and then customize for those particular regions. So email is very important. We also use social media. For instance, we have a YouTube channel. We have Facebook. Facebook's becoming very popular for us. And we're just starting to use Instagram and those types of media as well. But email is our primary way of marketing out to our customers. They're used to having the email, but we realise the power of social media and we're starting to move towards that.
Can you describe the amount of work that you do on this site personally?
Myself? Okay. Well, the website itself has grown organically over the years, so there's been a lot of work put into it. I generally come up with the design, and we have a IT manager, and together we will get on a conference call and we will work together to, for instance, we might change the design somewhat, or we might add some new features. As far as the new products goes, for instance, when we're ready to announce some new files, that's quite easy. We have a team of producers, and those producers create the files according to the work orders I give out. They would complete the files, they would upload the files to the website, and via a system that I've created. They've got their own login and password. They upload the files, and the files are automatically added to the catalogue, so to the online website. So there's very minimal hands-on when it comes to updating the website. So the only time I would make like a physical effort into the website is if I want to change something. So if I want to add some new text, or I might want to change the design, which you don't really want to do once your website is successful and it's ranking well. Particularly if it's ranking well, we don't want to do too many changes that might change that ranking. So once it's ranking well, we kind of leave it as it is.
And you sort of talked about it, but could you tell us about whether there are employees working for you? What are their roles? Okay,
so here at the main office, there's really just the two of us. There's myself and Anita, and she handles all the financial, like the office duties for those types of financial areas. That's her expertise. My expertise here is, well, initially as a musician, but these days I'm handling things like the IT, running the website, just generally overseeing the work, allocating the work to the particular producers. I would handle some areas of customer support, although most of our support is handled online through knowledge base. And the content itself, the files, are created by what we call our producers. And I touched on that just a moment ago. So I would assign what we call the works to the producers. The producers will create the files. Our entire team comprises around 20 to 24. It's around there, it varies sometimes. But we deal directly with static producers. They're the ones that have their own libraries, and we distribute those particular libraries under a license. And we have our own producers that produce in-house for us. So it's kind of split from there.
Would it be necessary for someone to have a physical office if they were to buy this?
No. One of the advantages of this business is you can work from home, as we have. We've worked from home, and it's been great for us because we were able to be with our families and watch our children grow up. To me, that was important. So we were able to run the business and, in fact, run it quite effectively. If I had to drive into the city, it would be an hour drive, probably an hour back, if not more, now with all the traffic. That's 2 hours of productive time or more that I can put into the business. And so we can run the business from anywhere. So we travel occasionally. I just bring my laptop. We get a secure connection, which is quite easy to do. And you can run the business as though you're in your office. It's completely and 100% portable. So you can run it from anywhere. You can be on holidays and check up on your business if you like, for instance. Not that you'd want to aim for that, but when I go on holidays, sometimes I just want to, just poke my nose in there and make sure everything's running okay. Usually is, and I just get back to it and quite happy with that particular setup.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you with all that. Remote work looks like the way forward more than ever at the minute. Would this business be transferable to someone outside of Australia?
Yes. Oh, absolutely. Yes. You could take this business any country. You could take this business to any country and run the business from that country. Now, just bear in mind, for instance, I probably imagine you're going to ask me how would that affect some of the operational, thinking ahead, some of the operational aspects of the business. It won't affect too many aspects of the business. The only things that may change are for things like some of the particular fees that may be associated with using these files. They may vary slightly depending on the particular laws of the country. Some countries may not have any laws pertaining to those types of things. So as far as running the business, you could take the business as it is to any place in the world that has an internet connection, and nobody would know the difference. No customer would know the difference. You could just run it as it is from today to tomorrow in another geographical location.
And you've been running this business for a while. Is there anything that you've learned through this process that you might apply to any future businesses?
Any future business that I would run myself?
Yeah, or you could suggest sort of something that you've learned that might be useful for people listening.
Of course. Okay, so to a future buyer, well, I would say you need to look. The advantages of this business is it can run itself for most of it. But one of the main things I've learned is I think we call mind your own business, as they say, and that is to keep an eye on the business. Don't be complacent. It's a good feeling knowing that sales are ticking over 24/7. You can be asleep, you can be on holidays. Sales are still ticking over, but a business isn't a business without your customers. And so my emphasis is always on the customers. And I find just by minding my own business, by using the MyOp principle and putting my customers first, they come back. So we have now the grandchildren of our original customers. When I started this business back in 1983, if I can say that, the original business, which morphed into Hit Tracks in 2000, but I still have those customers and some of their grandchildren. And this is worldwide. So they come back to us because they know that they can come to our business. They'll get great service. Even if we're not talking face to face, they know that that website has a face and a name behind it. And they're going to be looked after if there's a problem. They can hit that contact button and somebody's going to respond to them. So if I was to give that advice to anybody is to not take the business for granted. Enjoy the benefits of this type of business because the benefits are great. You get a lot of free time. You get to spend time with your family and your friends. And, there are times you're going to have to sit down in front of the computer and just answer a few emails and just sort of dot the I's and cross the T's, if I can say that.
Yeah, definitely. And why are you deciding to sell the business?
Well, as you can imagine, I started this business as a young man, and time gets the better of us. So I'm at that age now, I'm ready to retire. So it's a couple of reasons. I could keep the business and just keep it going. I enjoy the business. I love doing it. It's no real stress or pressure on me. But it's at the point where I think I've done everything I can with the business, and it's time for another team to take it into the next, into a new era. And I have very high hopes that that would happen, and that a good team will get behind this business and take it to a new era, to even new ventures. There's so many areas that these particular files can go towards with the right team behind it. Young blood, as they say, and a young mindset would do very, very well with this type of business. But for me, it's time to move on. It's the right time. It's the right thing to do. And that's the only reason I'm selling it.
And the business is already at a high level, but if you were to keep it and you wanted to grow it, what are some of the ways that you might try to do that?
Okay, pretty much the areas I just quoted a moment ago. I would get some young blood into the business, some younger people that are more switched on with the things that are going on these days. There are a multitude of areas where we could market these products to, and a team that's switched on and can tap into those areas and has the drive to do it, they would do very well out of it. So if I was to stay on, it may only be one or two people, which is all you would need, if that. And they would be competent people that would know how to find these particular markets. And we would work together to exploit the product and the files into those markets, and take that business into a new era. I'd probably redesign the site a little bit. If I was to take it on for another 10, 15 years, I'd say, rightio, well, we do some redesigning and we do a bit of work there. So a little bit of housekeeping here and there, but otherwise the existing structure is well suited. Like, we get new customers coming in. These are self-subscribed customers every day. There's quite a large number that keep coming in every day. So it keeps the wheels turning for fresh customers coming in to buy those files.
What do you think maybe some of the biggest risks associated with this site that a buyer might be aware of?
All right. Well, we call that SWOT, which is strengths, weakness, opportunities, and threats, which is, a principle you have to apply to every business. You have to know what your strengths are. You have to know what your weaknesses are, your opportunities, and of course you need to know what your threats are. This is very important. There's a whole list of those particular items. So if I was to say what our strengths are, we are a respected brand name, we are an established business, we have a worldwide reach. This is vitally important for our type of product. We have a worldwide reach. There's no boundaries. There are industry compliant products. And if I could say the one most important aspect that a buyer has to know about this product is that it's future proof. So we've all heard of the Kodak syndrome, and then the Kodak syndrome is, very few people use film these days. Everyone's got a digital camera. And so Kodak pretty much lost its business because the technology changed. Well, the beauty of our files is the more the technology changes, the more opportunities the product has, the files have. As I said, they are the flower and eggs of this particular type of product, and it's not going to stop. So the person who comes in and finds out what the business is all about, they're going to know very quickly what I'm talking about. So our product is future-proof. We also have continuous 24/7 sales. A business doesn't stop. It just ticks over 7 days a week, 24 hours a day, every day of the year. Another great asset of our business is that all payments are up front. So when a customer buys a file, it's paid for. So nobody owes us money. There's not one person that owes our business money, and we don't have to chase people for money. So they pay for the product, and then they download the product, and they go on and use it. So that's one thing you want to know. We have high profits, low operating costs. I think they're two important aspects for a business. So if you guarantee that, you've got high profits and low operating costs. We have strong organic rankings on search engines. You're buying this business from the creator of the business. For instance, if you were to buy, during the handover, I would make myself available, for a short amount of time, but I would make myself available during the handover. I think that's important. And I guess there's a large and loyal client base that's growing every day, and you have flexible hours. So if you're an owner, you've got flexible hours. You don't want to work one day, you take a day off. And like I said, just keep the mind your own business principle, in your mind. Take a day off, take a weekend off, take a week off. if you have to, but, just keep your eye on the business. You have that flexibility, which is really important. I could go into some of the weaknesses. I should go through the whole SWOT, but I'll make that brief. The weaknesses, if you were to call it that, you need to maintain visibility, on your search engines. You want to make sure that, you're not slipping in rankings. And providing you don't do anything silly on the website, make dramatic changes. If you're ranking well, you'll continue to rank well. You need to make sure that your server and your host is secure. That goes without saying. You want to make sure that your servers are secure. Occasionally shifting currency rates can change a little bit. So if the dollar goes up or down, it's going to temporarily, you might make a little bit more, you might make a little bit less. By the end of the quarter or the year, then your income is going to balance out. Opportunities, new members are signing up to the database each day. You can provide content to almost any opportunity available that would handle this particular file. And believe me, there are many. There are countless opportunities to use this particular file now in apps. So apps is a great new avenue. We were talking about this before. We haven't really exploited that area. It is a huge opportunity, a very large opportunity for a new team to go in there and find a whole new market, which is good. We should go into the threats as well, I guess. The threats is piracy. Of course, you're dealing with a digital product. So, you just want to make sure that you look after that. It's not a big deal these days. It was many, many years ago. But these days, the product is priced at the market rate. And if you price the product, the files at the market rate, the amount of piracy is going to be minimal. You will get it. I mean, anybody that says you won't is lying to you. So I'm just telling you exactly as it is. But it's very minimal compared to the size of the business. It's not worth chasing, if you know what I mean. And the other thing is a geographical or, some sort of event that may temporarily affect sales. We've had a recent event with the COVID. We thought this is going to be an interesting time because many of our customers were affected by the shutting down of industries that are associated with that particular file. What happened? Our sales went up. You'll see that if you look in the P&L. Our sales not only maintained, they increased. And we found this in every particular catastrophe that's happened, worldwide over the last few years. Our sales have never dropped during those times. And that is a very, very strong asset to have. So, the only things that could affect the business are really things you have no control on, and that's the same in any business.
I think that's a really good overview of the business. And say a buyer did come in, would you be willing to commit to a non-compete?
Absolutely. Yes, that would go without saying. If I was buying the business myself, that would be a clause I would insert in there. So a new buyer can be guaranteed, and I would sign a non-compete clause.
And you mentioned it briefly, but I think it's worth saying it again. How much support are you offering buyers? Is that the sort of email support and the few Skype calls?
Yeah, that's right. We can talk face to face. As we're talking now over Skype, I'll make my phone available, a daytime phone number. Just bear in mind, I'm located in Australia, so work out a time that's convenient. So email, Skype, whatever means is necessary to help the new buyer transition. There are some personnel in the business, for instance, IT manager. He would make himself available, and that would come at his rate, that the new buyer would pay for that particular rate, of course. But I would make my time would be available for free, and I would do that, for a few weeks just to help the new buyer transition and answer any questions. There may be a situation that they really do need my help for. But John, can you help me with this? We're not sure how to handle it. I would handle the situation, and then I would show the new buyer how to handle that situation in the future. So, so they don't get caught out again if that were to happen.
And are you open to negotiating something like an earn-out?
I would prefer a full listing offer, a full buyout. That's my first option, and I would give priority to that. When the buyer understands what the product is and what the files are, they would understand why, and it would make sense to them. But look, I am open to suggestions, to an 80-20 or something like that. I'm not going to say no to any offer that's in the range.
And something that we like to do at the end of these, maybe just give advice to some people that are new to online business or just starting it. So while you were running this business, was there any software or tools that really helped you with running it?
Yes, there were. This is software that is available over the internet. You can buy the software. Some of it's free. It's commercial software. There is nothing in this particular business that we've had to have custom made for ourselves. So standard Microsoft database software, Dreamweaver, which we use, to create our website, and some various editors that are specific to the files. So these are all commercially available software and apps, and the beauty is that they're not expensive.
And last question from me, is there anything else that you would like to share that I might have missed?
I think you've covered everything. I think at this stage, any further information would probably come from a buyer that would ask me some specific questions, and I would be happy to engage with the buyers face-to-face or over Skype and answer their questions.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you for joining us today.
Hey, you're welcome. It's been fun.
Yeah, it's been really good. Okay, everyone, thank you for listening. To learn more and see if this listing has already been sold, head over to empireflippers.com/marketplace and search for listing 47834. If you're watching this on YouTube, click the link in the description to go straight to the listing. Once you've unlocked this listing, you'll be given everything you need to know about this business, and I'll see you in the next episode.